name's Jack Fulscher. I was born out on a small subsistence farm in 1977 out by Sherrard, Illinois. Born to alcoholic parents, and I know what it's like to have to carry wood, and I know what it's like to watch my mom write a bad check to the guy who's delivering coal. And so that's kind of where we started out at. And with alcoholic parents that are fighting and arguing and carrying on, always fighting about bills, being poor, not having this, car broke down. My mom had a interesting cycle to where my father would get drunk and beat on her, and so in her revenge, she'd go be adulterous. So it was just a completely toxic cycle. And so they decided to get divorced when I was about 5, and then they got back together, and then we moved out to California, and that was probably some of the better golden years of my childhood. And then they decided to break up. We moved back, and then I went from living in a pretty decent house in a pretty decent community out in San Jose, California, to being right back to being dirt poor, piss poor again. And my mom ended up getting us settled in about a 25-year-old mobile home out in a little town called Cambridge. And out there in Cambridge, they have a lot of people have to deal with racism, stuff like that. But out there, I had to deal with classism severely. I was the poor kid. I didn't have the cool shoes. My dad wasn't a rich farmer. I didn't have somebody that had money. And growing up around that, they really instill that into you that you ain't nothing, you ain't gonna be nothing. Being poor out in Cambridge, there's not any jobs. You couldn't just go get a job at McDonald's. The nearest McDonald's is a 20-mile ride. It'll take you 40 minutes to go to McDonald's and back. That's how convenient it was. So I ended up running into some of the more rougher crowds. I always hung out with older people, and I ended up in with a crowd, and I ran into a hippie, and he sold me LSD. About 1.5 years, 2 years into that, I ended up getting set up and arrested by an undercover mag agent. And at 17 years of age, I was in high school, playing football. I'd gone to state for wrestling. And now I had a Class X felony sitting on my head. And so I'm a 17-year-old kid, never even had a traffic ticket before, being told I'm now gonna get to go do 6 to 30 years. 6 to 30 years when you're 17. That's like giving somebody a life sentence. And I was so scared, I didn't know what to do, but my family had scraped together some money. My dad put some money on some credit cards, and they got me a defense lawyer, and they managed to get me a plea deal, and I got my Class X, which would have carried 6 to 30 years in Illinois. I got it dropped down to a Class 1 and a Class 2, and they sent me off to a boot camp. And then I was getting closer towards the end of being done with boot camp, and then they had us do outtake programs, parenting, anger management, psychological stuff, to make sure that we weren't going to go out there like some loaded gun. And one of the things that they talked to us about was the Safer Foundation, that they'd help you out with things, they'd help you, they'd help you get a job, they might help you get education, that they would kind of help guide you. And if you didn't have anybody that knew what they were doing or somebody that could point you in the right way, they said, Safer could do it. So I'm gonna check them out. And so I was an 18-year-old kid, fresh out of prison. I could run 4 miles without stopping. But what I didn't have was knowledge on how to have a good resume. What I didn't have was knowledge on how to do an interview. I had no knowledge about any of this stuff. It was like speaking gibberish. And they started to work with me on things like that. And I kind of bailed on them when I was 18 because my real passion was that I was wanting to tattoo. And so then I went into the tattoo industry, and I've been in magazines, I've tattooed coast to coast, and I still tattoo as much as I want to, but I don't tattoo because I have to. And so I still enjoy tattooing, even though it's been almost 30 years that I've been tattooing. And so then I was having a lot of problems in life, and I decided to get back with Safer. I wanted to get, regular job. COVID had hit and stuff. And so I got back in touch with Safer, and they're like, here, yeah, we'll help you with job placement. And I was like, cool. And then they sent me to a job, and I got another job that was better. But then I kept going back, and I was like, what about, having, check out, what can I do for placement tests? And so I went back, I did the placement stuff, and the lady's like, wow, you scored off the charts. And so what do you want to do? And I said, well, I'll check into phlebotomy. I've been tattooing and body piercing for years, so phlebotomy is close. And so SAFER is actually kind enough to get me a grant, get me the book, and get me all the things. And all I had to do was just show up and do the work. And so I went, and I was working 56 hours a week in a factory. I was tattooing 30 hours a week, and I still managed to get the certificate. It's up on my wall where I tattoo at. And I didn't go into phlebotomy because I found out how much phlebotomy paid. And I found out that my factory job paid almost 3 times as much as what being a phlebotomist did, but they helped me, and they would have given me help in any kind of a career possible that I would have went for, as long as I was really willing to do it. And what I've seen from a lot of cats that I've been in jail with and from other people is that, they'll start talking about SAFER and that SAFER will help. And you're like, oh, they didn't help me. Well, if you start talking to them and you peg them down and you really get into a conversation with them, you'll find out that they didn't bother to do the work, and they didn't bother to put in the time, and they didn't bother to go back, and they didn't take the classes or finish the classes, and they just thought that something was going to be handed to them. And that's not the way anything is in this world. If you don't do the work, you won't get it. And once you're able to take and have somebody help you get into things like that, and even help you with your mindset, find out, do you have defects of character? Are you having problems with substance abuse? Do you just need to learn how to be professional? Do you learn how to sit, how to pose, how to talk, how to enunciate your words when you're trying to get your point across to someone in an intelligent manner? And if you take and you pay attention, they can give you all that guidance, and they can help you with the things that you probably think that you're helpless with. And so now I'm at a point to where I've been afforded a lot of very great things. I still have my tattoo business that I've had since 2001, and I also now work at John Deere. And I was helped with my resume preparation. I was also helped with different interviewing tactics and principles, and those were things that I probably wouldn't have had or got, but SAFER gave them to me for free because I put in the work. And so now I've got a pretty decent job at John Deere Harvester Works. I'm an inspector, and I inspect the work that comes through there, and I tattoo as much as I want. And I spend a lot of my time reading, and I've also, because of SAFER, I'm also on a very special committee with the City of Rock Island through the police department, and it's kind of turned out to be kind of a blessed kind of thing that I've got to live, because I turned around the things that weren't working for me, figured out what could work, and then put it to the best work that I could. And so now my main goal and my main hope is that the things that I do and the things that I try to help people with and the people that I try to funnel and push towards SAFER, that hopefully they listen to me and they understand that they have to do the work, because if they're willing to do the work, SAFER's willing to be there for them.